Folks, for these weeks leading up to Rosh Hashanah, I'm exploring different questions that have to do with human nature. We are a complicated species, but we are a species. We are part of the natural world. And there are certain things about us that I think are undeniable. So last week, I asked the question, are we ever really in control? Control of situations around us, or even in control of our own behavior? And I suggested that we can control and influence more than we think, certainly about our own behavior, and even regarding the things around us. This week, I have a different question, which is, can we ever be completely unbiased when we are viewing a situation or viewing another person? Is it possible for us to not be partial, to not be biased? So the Torah towards the beginning says, Lo tateh mishpat, lo takir panim, ve'lo tikach shochad ki hashochad ya'aver einei chachamim v'yisalef divrei tzadikim. You shall not judge unfairly. You shall show no partiality. You shall not take bribes, for bribes blind the eyes of the person judging and upset the plea of the just. So the Torah is suggesting that actually it's really hard to be unbiased. You're going to be in a situation and you simply will judge that situation or that person with a certain set of biases. Now, the commentators said you got to try really hard. They said to the judges, even when you are gathering information, be very careful that you are not showing favoritism to one or the other. Maybe one person looks wealthy and you want to impress that person. Or maybe one person looks poor and you want to show everyone just how righteous you are. There are all kinds of considerations that might incline you not to rely on the truth, but rather to rely on your impressions. Jonathan Haidt is a professor of social psychology at New York University, and he wrote a book years ago called The Righteous Mind. And in the very first part of the book, he talks about how when we think we are making a rational decision, we are not. We are extremely biased. He said when we are in a situation, we are sizing up the situation or sizing up the person. Is this somebody that is someone that is a source of danger to me? Is this somebody who can help me? And so we are making all of those immediate judgments. Why? Because that's part of our survival. The difference between knowing if the person who is approaching you or the living creature approaching you is dangerous or not can be the difference between life and death. And he says the part that helps us to take that first impression and then try to be more rational, it's like a little part. He compares the first part of our brain, the instinctual part, to a giant, powerful elephant. And then the second part that's more rational, no, wait, let me stop, let me consider further, is like a teeny person sitting on top of the elephant and trying to tell it in which direction to go. So Jonathan Haidt is saying we are biased. We are wired to be biased. We are wired to establish very profound first impressions. We know this is true. We know that we establish judgments based on how other people dress, based on how they look, sometimes based on their gender, sometimes based on their background. And it is hardwired into us to form these impressions. There are a million examples that I can give. I'm just going to give one, okay? A young man recently confessed to, at the very least, putting in danger a person that he was credibly accused of murdering. So I'm speaking about Luigi Mangione, who is a human being. He is not a character in a video game, even though he has the same name as a character in a particular video game. And what's really interesting is that thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people for months have been writing to him, telling him that they support him, telling him that they see him as an anti-hero, fighting the establishments, that they are very much in his camp. And I'll just say that many of his supporters are young women who have observed that he's very good looking. So what's interesting is that for many of these people, they just can't imagine that somebody who is so good looking, somebody who looks so appealing, could have done something so terrible. And if he did the thing, he must have had a good reason for it. So you can do a thought experiment if Luigi Mangione looked like Quasimodo in The Hunchback of Notre Dame. If he was, short and hunched over and whatever, would he have the same legion of supporters? And we can ask that question and related questions about all sorts of people that others are inclined either positively towards or negatively towards. We are biased based on looks, based on age, based on social status, based on ethnicity and perceived ethnicity, and we come to expect certain things of other people based on how the elephant part of our brain is sizing them up. So I want to just shift gears. What do we do about it? Our tradition is really wise. Our tradition understands that human nature, how our brains function, fight, flight, all of that is very deeply ingrained. So I just want to share with you 3 things that our tradition teaches us that help us try to at least honestly confront and possibly even transcend our biases. So the first is to actually try to switch things up. And actually, there's a tradition that says the judge was told that they should ask the rich person and the poor person to dress the same at the trial. In other words, to try to remove the bias. Now, if you think about a prison, everybody is dressed the same. If you think about a hospital, everyone is dressed the same. Are physicians and nurses going to be biased towards some people rather than others? They are wonderful people, but they're human. So you can try to sort of level the playing field in terms of how people look. The second, so we are told in Pirkei Avot, Hevei mekabel kol adam b'seva panim yafot. Try to greet everyone with a cheerful demeanor. In other words, try to approach everybody in a cheerful fashion. Now, there are different methods for how to act, and I forget which is which, but there's one method which says dress the part, and then the acting will follow. Feel it from the outside. So you know what? Smile. And maybe if you smile, you enter into a relationship with somebody that will potentially be less biased. And then the third thing comes from this morning's parsha, V'darashta hetev. Examine deeply. So go beyond your initial impressions. So if you're looking for more summer reading, so you have Jonathan Haidt's The Righteous Mind, and another book that I would recommend is Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. So these were 2 Israeli academics who said, sure, we think fast, that's one way we think, fight or flight, etc. But we're also capable of thinking slow. We can reevaluate, we can go back. Some of our initial impressions we can reconsider, and we can come to different conclusions. So here's where I want to conclude. We do actually in our synagogue have professional judges and retired professional judges. We're a very accomplished congregation. But most of us are not sitting in a courtroom and coming up with judgments about other people in that respect. But we judge each other all the time, all the time. And when somebody says, I'm not judging you, usually they are. And when somebody says, I'm not the sort of person who judges other people, sometimes they are. Because most of us judge each other all the time. So I just want to extend to us an invitation. We are at the beginning of the month of Elul. We're heading into the new year. Ask yourself, am I in the supermarket, at work, at Kiddush, at Temple Israel, am I judging other people in ways that are just not fair? Am I assuming that I know what that person thinks about a certain thing, or how that person will respond, or what that person's priorities are based on how they appear? And if that's the answer, then I am encouraging you to get to the part, first of all, of greeting somebody kindly, and then maybe you'll get to the next part, which is v'darashta hetev. Maybe you'll have a conversation, maybe you'll get to know somebody, and then you may be very surprised at what you actually discover. So are we biased by nature? Absolutely. But can we think slow after we think fast? We certainly can. And why does the Torah say terek terek tirdof? You should pursue justice rather than you should achieve justice, because it's a pursuit. We do the best we can in trying to understand each other deeply and transcend our biases and hopefully dig more deeply together. The outcomes, I assure you, may surprise you, and they will certainly enrich you. Shabbat Shalom.